Hello everyone, thanks again for joining us this time for Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first, hazardous weather graphic. We've got a couple of warning areas going out here starting tomorrow afternoon. High wind warning, St. Lawrence Island, Bering Strait coast, northeast winds increasing with gusts picking up to 60 miles an hour or better, starting during the day tomorrow and continuing through tomorrow night and into Monday. Otherwise, winter weather advisories beginning tomorrow here for the interior areas, and that extends starts tomorrow and continues through tomorrow night, and especially here over the eastern interior, and anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of snow with gusty winds, so that'll create some lower visibilities as well. And Copper River Basin winter weather advisory out tonight for 4 to 8 inches of snow. And that's for the overnight period from, I believe, about actually 6 p.m. this evening until 11 a.m. tomorrow, or 9 a.m. tomorrow. And again, that's 4 to 8 inches of snow. And then the hard to see one here is the blizzard warning for Thompson Pass. And that starts at 6 p.m. and continues to about 9 a.m. tomorrow morning on Sunday, with looking for 10 to 20 inches of snow there for Thompson Pass, with winds gusting 45 miles an hour. So look for whiteout conditions at times during that time frame, again from 6 p.m. this evening until 9 a.m. Sunday morning. Satellite imagery showing the huge mass of cloud associated with the storm moving northward here brought heavy wind and rain to Kodiak Island, and that increasing during the afternoon today or throughout the day here along the Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, back to the west here, with winds coming back around and gusting 40 to 45 miles an hour across the Alaska Peninsula, and some rain from the eastern Aleutians, heavier up around St. Paul today with that moisture coming back in. Warm temperatures back up into the lower 40s there, at about a quarter inch falling at St. George in the 12-hour period, ending at 3 p.m. this afternoon. And mostly mid and high level clouds spreading northward here, with some areas of light snow back to the west, but very light amounts, and also up here over the northwest interior, not really much, just some very light flurries here from the Bering Strait, possibly down to St. Lawrence Island, and some snow shower activity earlier, ADAC today, and then the drier air has moved in right through here, but looks like some more snow showers ready to move on down into that area just off to your west and northwest. But basically a dry day today out towards Shimmy, temperatures in the mid to upper 30s at both locations. And rolling this through again, you can see the clear skies over the Yukon Delta to start, spreading over with mid and high level clouds. Not too bad up here over the northwest interior, and rather cloudy for the most part here along the North Slope and Arctic coast, but not much going on at all there. Temperature is definitely well below freezing. Warmer air coming northward here initially will keep it all rain along the coast, and then eventually mix with rain later tonight, and then work inland tomorrow. So quite a transition will go on as a big push of warm air comes in. Some of this moisture already spreading into the northern southeast coast today, but again, amounts there quite light, generally just 1 to 2 tenths at the most during the day today, and that'll pick up a little bit, but the bulk of the moisture is sliding up to the north and to the northwest. On the chart, you can see some of that rainfall in over the southeast coast there, with cloudy skies extending down toward Dixon Entrance. Heavier rainfall amounts again catching the brunt of it here initially, Kodiak Island and the Alaska Peninsula, with anywhere from 2/3 to 3/4 of an inch of rain falling during the day today. Winds gusting 50 miles an hour, and at the state airport there, and pretty gusty winds here for the Alaska Peninsula, gusting as high as 40 to 45 miles an hour, and 30 to 35 miles an hour from Bristol Bay up along the southwest coast here in that tighter gradient, and breezy for the Yukon Delta, but dry. And the winds have yet to increase here for St. Lawrence Island, but they will later on, especially tomorrow and tomorrow night. And some areas of light snow up here over the western North Slope, Arctic coast, and flurries from the northwest coast down into the Bering Strait areas, and some snow and rain, mostly showery type snow and rain there for the central western Aleutians. And for tonight, That low kind of angles back around toward the Fox Islands here, about 981 millibars, the front extending up into Kuskokwim Bay. North of the front, snow. South of the front, a mixture of rain and snow. Should be rain from the Pribilofs down to the eastern Aleutians. Starting out as a mixture of moisture at times, kind of get surges of cold air coming southward, so it could bounce back and forth, but trending toward mainly just rain there for the central Aleutians. Areas of light snow continue with a weak system up there over the northwest and the north slope west side out to the western Arctic coast. Could be some light snow there for the central coast eastward to possibly Prudhoe Bay, but dry from there over toward AKwx. Some snow showers over the White Mountains. And then the heavy snow tonight again for Thompson Pass, 10 to 20 inches falling by 9 a.m. tomorrow. And 4 to 8 inches of snow spreading over the Copper River Basin, increasing winds. So some of that could be blowing and drifting as well with reduced visibilities, eventually pushing into the 40-mile country in the Tanana Valley, taking a little longer to get across the Kuskokwim Mountains there into the Yukon Delta. And for the Panhandle, increasing rain, mostly in the north, heaviest. Probably Elfin Cove to Yakutat, and the moderate side becomes heavy west of Yakutat in toward Cordova. And all of Prince William Sound, still pretty rainy, but improving conditions, less wind and rain, not so heavy with that front just lifting north of Kodiak. And taking a look at Sunday, kind of a first impulse pushes the snow up over the eastern interior mainly. This portion of the front really drying out through here into the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, really breaking up the precipitation, and then that transition of the warm air coming northward. The snow mixes with rain and snow and then changes to rain as snow levels rise. Warm air comes northward with that, especially behind this trough. Main warm front still off the coast, periods of rain. Northern Panhandle could be dry down toward Heidelberg, Ketchikan, and Annette, with moderate to heavy rain continuing for the North Gulf Coast, as well as gusty winds and gale force winds, storm force winds out here over the Bering Sea with a much tighter gradient on down into the central Aleutians for the day on Sunday, but less gradient, much lighter winds, Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula, periods of light rain or showers all the way out, kind of getting a little heavier here from Nikolsky over to Atka, and then showers for Adak. Western Bering pretty dry under the domination of high pressure over the Russian Far East. And for Veterans Day, shaping up like this, that front kind of pushes north and to the west and then becomes stationary right through here. It actually tries to push down a little bit to the south here, up over the northeast interior. So rain and snow south of the boundary, snow on the north side, drying out back to the northwest coast, and some rain and snow again east of the front, rain and snow or just plain rain. Snow on the west side, possibly down to the Pribilofs. Low center still here near the Fox Islands, about 987 millibars. That keeps those gusty north winds in from Nikolsky back toward Adak and Atka. Snow showers reach Shemya and Attu, with another system pulling northward toward Kodiak Island in the afternoon. That'll bring rain mostly sliding up into the Kenai Peninsula in Prince William Sound, the North Gulf Coast. Panhandle, low, staying to the east there. High pressure, could be a partly sunny day over the southern two-thirds of the Panhandle. Just chance of rain up there in the north, Lynn Canal, and a better chance for Glacier Bay. Definitely wet and windy. Again, gale force winds, rain, moderate, briefly heavy at times from the North Gulf Coast. Again, the Kenai Peninsula. And having a little harder time getting into Kodiak. Probably see some rain on the east side of the island there in the afternoon. And the winds increasing, but not all that strong. It'll be mostly from the Barren Islands, east-northeastward along the coast. And again, the mixed precipitation, probably mostly in the form of rain for the Kuskokwim Delta. Scattered showers for Bristol Bay. Isolated showers up there over the northwest interior with possibly some clearing. Temperatures staying cold there. And highs in the Tanana Valley kind of on the edge there. It doesn't look like that much warm air will push up to where you'd rise above freezing on Monday, so probably stay in the 20s there. But warm air aloft could still bring mixed precipitation in possible areas of freezing rain. And for the lows tonight, as low as 20 below possibly around Arctic Village. Otherwise 0 to 5 below eastern Arctic coast, low below 0 on the west side. Dramatically warmer here as you head south. 47 the forecast low for Kodiak. Upper 30s to lower 40s for the Panhandle. Highs for tomorrow into the 40s. Warm air surging northward in the afternoon, rising into the 40s, even into the southern Copper River Basin, maybe even toward Gulkana. Mid-20s, Tanana Valley, single numbers, Brooks Range of the Arctic coast, mid to upper 40s for the Panhandle. Kodiak Island, really not much higher than what your low tonight will be, and mid-40s for the Aleutians Alaska Peninsula. Lows following morning, still a little below zero there for the Brooks Range, and maybe 8 below on the eastern Arctic coast, with temperatures above freezing now. South central Alaska, near freezing Copper River Basin, upper 30s for the Panhandle. Highs, again, mid-20s, Tanana Valley, lower to mid-40s, South Central Alaska, 5 to 10 above on the Arctic coast, and mid to upper 40s for the southeast coast, and lower 40s for the southern Bering Sea and the Aleutians.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather graphic here for tomorrow morning. Marginal VFR, well, much of the southern Bering Sea and the Aleutians, IFR here. Nunivak Island, or just south of it, into the Kuskokwim Delta to the Kuskokwim Mountains, and also along the Alaska Range all the way around. Pretty widespread IFR right up into the southeast interior, and some of that even slipping up into the 40-mile country. Break here through the central interior, more IFR up to the north. Panhandle, IFR, northern half, marginal VFR becoming VFR down toward Dixon Entrance. And for the afternoon, some VFR slips on up to the north here over toward the eastern part. Stays IFR, Lynn Canal Glacier Bay, IFR, Gulf of Alaska into the North Gulf Coast, improving a little bit here, mainly over the eastern Alaska Range, over the Copper River Basin, but staying VFR along the Alaska Range all the way down to Kodiak Island, as well as the Southwest Mountains, some IFR up over the North Slope, with the swath of VFR from Norton Sound northeastward there across the northern Koyukuk and upper Yukon Valley. And then for Monday morning, IFR, Brooks Range, North Slope, mostly east side now over to the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, and the upper Yukon Valley here in across to the Kuskokwim and Koyukuk Valley on down, becoming more widespread here over the southwest interior. IFR pretty steady here along the Aleutian Alaska Range area into the Talkeetnas. Not so bad over toward the upper Tanana Valley, 40-mile country. Looks like VFR to start the day Monday. IFR holding Gulf of Alaska to the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, as well as the northern Panhandle, but improving down to the south. And for Monday afternoon, all VFR here for the southeast coast. Marginal VFR to about Cape Yakataga, then IFR, most of Prince William Sound. Again, northward, western Copper River Basin, Talkeetnas. Alaska Range, mainly south side and the eastern slopes of the western range there down to Kamishak Bay. And then areas of marginal and IFR here over the western interior northern Bering Sea, northeastward there to the upper Yukon Valley, eastern Brooks Range. Looks like VFR for the afternoon along much of the Arctic coast with some IFR over the North Slope, Bering Sea, marginal VFR, same thing for the Aleutians. Passes tomorrow, Anatuvik VFR, but the northern entrance, some moisture kind of sagging southward, so it'll become marginal VFR in the afternoon. Same trend for Adigan, VFR, possibly becoming marginal in the northern entrance during the latter part of the day. Lake Clark and Merrill, IFR, rainy, IFR, windy, marginal VFR, occasional IFR here on the southern entrance. And for Isabel, mostly IFR. And for Mentasta, marginal VFR, occasional IFR south side. And for Tanita, IFR. Portage, same forecast. Chilkoot and White, IFR. Freezing levels. Warming coming up across the Gulf of Alaska with that good southerly flow, kind of banking up along the North Gulf Coast, but in the afternoon this will push inland, bringing that mixed precipitation pattern in across the southeast interior. And for the icing, considerable moderate rime icing here, North Gulf Coast, and to a lesser extent up along the Alaska Range. Jet stream, strong southerly flow here, this low kind of curving northwestward and then wrapping back down just south of the Fox Islands, so good southerly flow along this ridge building right along the west coast there, but that's going to carry the warmer air and moisture right up into the southern interior. 9,000 feet, pretty strong winds here, 30 to 35 knots. right into the North Gulf Coast, diminishing to 20 to 25, turning more easterly, and the strongest winds out here coming around the backside. Northeasterlies 35 to 40, increasing to 60 to 65, cutting across the central Aleutians. 35, Alaska Peninsula, Fox Islands, only 20 way out west. 3,000 feet, same pattern here, southeast, 20 to 40 knots, 45 across the Barren Islands, 25 to 30, increased to as high as 50 knots here from Nunivak Island, and up to 50 to 55 into the central Aleutians, with lighter winds, obviously up here to the north, very light along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. Turbulence, widespread, moderate chop, coastal panhandle, North Gulf Coast, Kodiak Island, Kenai Peninsula. You can see much of the Kuskokwim Valley, southwest interior, right on up into the Chukchi Sea, as well as the Aleutians here, possibly even severe below 4,000 feet, but mostly moderate. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
What is it about the ocean that attracts so many of us? We like to play in it, get our food from it, build our houses near it, and gaze out at it. Our economy depends on the goods that come in and go out through our major ports. The ocean makes us feel good, contributes to our economic growth, and we like to be close to it. It's not surprising then that almost half of our population lives near the coastline. But working and playing along the coast is not always serene. Powerful coastal storms can raise the water level significantly, 20 feet or even more, causing loss of life, destroying homes, businesses, and property. Hurricanes like Katrina and Ike showed us firsthand the risks that coastal communities face.
It was 32 feet. We went through the first floor to the second floor, through the attic. The water came up to us like here on the roof. And we talking about swimming to the tree. And luckily, it subsided.
With ocean waters warming and sea levels rising, it is likely that the U.S. will encounter future storms equally as harmful and costly. And with so many people living along the coast, the stakes are getting higher each year. Storm destruction is rarely limited to lost lives and property. Instruments collecting water level and meteorological information must be located in harm's way so they can deliver data critical for flooding forecasts and emergency evacuations. But all too often, these stations are damaged or destroyed during the very times we need them. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, has responded to this dilemma by strengthening some of its storm tide stations. Known as NOAA Sentinels of the Coast, these platforms are single-pile, 4 feet in diameter structures that stand at least 20 feet above the sea surface and are driven 60 to 100 feet into the seafloor for stability. For over 200 years, NOAA has monitored the rise and fall of tides using the latest technology. Beginning with human observers in the early 19th century, NOAA has harnessed technology to operate its network of tide stations that automatically collect accurate and reliable data every 6 minutes. Today, NOAA maintains more than 200 permanent water level observing stations. NOAA's goal is to ensure that the public has advance notice based on the most accurate and up-to-date storm tide and meteorological information. This is only possible, however, when the tide stations operate throughout the storm. So Sentinels are designed to withstand a Category 4 hurricane, with winds up to 155 miles per hour and storm surges of nearly 20 feet above normal. Planning, design, construction, and operation required a team of experts in surveying, engineering, pile installation, oceanography, quality control, and web expertise. With new technology, NOAA is better meeting the needs of coastal communities. Lives are often at stake during the 24 hours before a major storm. Once floodwaters begin to rise, it becomes critical to know which evacuation routes are passable.
Having this kind of immediate real-time data up close that our community has access to is critical for us in our day-to-day operations.
Each Sentinel will report real-time water level and meteorological observations. Water level measurements are precisely referenced to ensure that coastal communities can make informed decisions to elevate housing, build levees, and plan evacuation routes. In addition to storm tide reporting, The products that result from NOAA's instruments also contribute to safe navigation, accurate charting, marine engineering, sea level change monitoring, and other important activities.
Before we send crews out, we always check the tides, because being in South Louisiana, you have to make sure your barges and boats can get in before you can even begin your work. So the tide information is very important.
The first Sentinels were constructed along the Gulf Coast at Calcasieu Pass, Amarada Pass, and Shell Beach in Louisiana, and Bay Waveland in Mississippi. Hurricanes Gustav and Ike tested the Sentinels within weeks of installation. Standing strong, they delivered storm tide data, which were used by emergency responders as well as thousands of coastal residents. More Sentinels are planned and will be built at exposed coastal locations as funding becomes available. Other stations in less exposed areas will be elevated above storm surge range on substantial structures. Coastal communities must be ever vigilant. Even tropical storms can deal a massive blow to many residents, especially storms that make landfall on a high tide. Sentinels are designed to serve the over 150 million residents of coastal communities, planning for the worst and hoping that we never need those plans. However, if the unthinkable happens, NOAA Sentinels will be there standing tall, providing a safe haven for instruments that are vital to planning for and responding to nature's fury.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Looking at today's sea ice analysis. Not much change from yesterday here. Still, the area up through here, now down around Wrangell Island, continuing to progress southward and should continue to do so over the next several days. So coastal water forecast, southeast 30 on the south coast here tomorrow. Gale force winds out of the southeast on the north coast, with seas up to 15 feet. Southeast 20, southern central inside waters with seas running about 4 feet. South 20 for Lynn Canal with 4-foot seas. And for Monday, those drop down to about 10 knots. Seas subside to 2 feet for Lynn Canal. 20 knots, gust 40 coming into Stevens Passage. Clarence Strait, southeast 25, small crash advisory 0 with 8-foot seas. South 30 on the extreme south coast, otherwise gale force winds increasing to 40 knots on the north coast, seas building to 20 feet. And for Prince William Sound tomorrow, northeast 30 knots, seas 7 feet. And we've got east-southeast winds here, even though the arrow fell off. 45 knots there for the eastern North Gulf Coast. East 35, minimum gales here for the western North Gulf Coast as well as the Barrens. Northeast 45 knots, Kamishak Bay. And 40-knot northeast winds, another windy day here for Cook Inlet, even north of the Forelands, out of the north at 30 with 7-foot seas. And then those come down considerably on Monday. Northeast 15 for Cook Inlet, 3 to 4-foot seas. Lighter winds for Kamishak Bay out of the east at 20. Much lighter winds here for the North Gulf Coast, or the western North Gulf Coast and the Barren Islands, east-southeast 15, but seas still 14 to 15 feet. And gales out of the southeast for the eastern coast there, eastern North Gulf Coast, with seas up to 17 feet. Small craft advisories, easterlies 25 in Prince William Sound. Kodiak Island on the east side, southeast 25, 13-foot seas, northeast 35, Shelikof Strait, northeast 30 for Bristol Bay, east 25, Sitkinak to Castle Cape, turns south 25 for Castle Cape to Cape Sarachev, Bering Sea side of the peninsula, southeast 25, seas 10 feet. And 20-knot winds from the east-southeast for Kodiak on Monday, and those seas 4 to 13 feet. Small craft advisories from Sitkinak all the way down to Cape Sarachev, east-southeast 25 to 30. And small craft advisories here out for east winds at 25 from Cape Sarachev all the way up and across Bristol Bay. And for the eastern Aleutians, east-northeast 25 to 35 knots there, seas up to 19 feet. And then storm warnings, Nikolsky out to Adak and Atka tomorrow, and actually later tonight through tomorrow. Out of the north and northwest, seas 20 to 28 feet. And then 40-knot winds diminished to 25 for the far western Aleutian zone there, with seas coming down to 12 feet. And for Monday, northeast 20 knots out there for that western zone, and then 30 knots with 20-foot seas still here for areas west of AKwx. And for actually the AKwx-Atka zone, north to northwest 40 with seas 16 to 25 feet. And, excuse me, for the Fox Islands, winds diminishing here. So lighter winds for Unalaska Island than will be from Umbak Island, where there'll be gales on Alaska Island, small craft advisories, north-northeast 25 to 30, but seas still up to 20 feet here on the Bering Sea side of things. And for the southwest coast, good gale force winds tomorrow, full gales, northeast 40 to 45 knots, 11 to 16-foot seas. Storm warnings for the Pribilofs, north 50 knots, northeast 50 knots for St. Matthew Island, St. Lawrence Island north at 40. And for the outlook on Monday, northeast 40 for St. Lawrence Island, 45-knot winds here, Nunivak Island out to St. Matthew Island, 40 knots out of the northeast for the Pribilofs, east 40 knots there for the area south of Nunivak Island. Eastern Boulevard Sea coast, central and east side, northeast 10 to 15 knots, pretty good winds there tomorrow, 2-foot seas, northeast 20 on the west side, Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson, north 25, and then gales from Cape Thompson to Wales. Gale force northerlies 35 knots, 11-foot seas. And for Monday, those increase further, northeast 40 there from Wales up to Cape Thompson, Cape Beaufort, northeast 30, western coast, east 20, light winds, east-northeast 10 to 15 there for the central and east side. For tonight again, blizzard warning tonight, Thompson Pass, 10 to 20 inches of snow, winds gusting 45 miles an hour. So occasional whiteout conditions, winter weather advisories, Copper River Basin, 4 to 8 inches of snow tonight into tomorrow morning. And then later on up in the interior, light snow to the northwest. Wind conditions improve here gradually for Kodiak and the Alaska Peninsula with lighter winds. Again, the storm force winds out over the central Aleutians. And then for Monday, another storm brings more heavy wind and rain.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.